G'day, Dave here, the Enlightened Plumber, with today's quote. Behind every successful man, there's a lot of unsuccessful years. Behind every successful man, there's a lot of unsuccessful years. This is from Bob Brown. Well, let's get into this quote. I would say change man here with person to fit with today's norms, because it doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman, anybody can become successful. And I would agree a little bit with the latter part of the statement here about there's a lot of unsuccessful years. And that's because in a lot of cases, there's a lot of experience that happens before someone becomes successful. And there's been many gurus, many other teachers and trainers that have typically said any overnight success usually takes about 10 years. But that doesn't mean to say they weren't really successful before. It just means, well, maybe that's before they became known for being a success, before massive things started happening, before the world really started taking notice. But that doesn't mean to say that they've failed, and it doesn't mean to say that it has to take a long time. There have certainly been points in time through eons, through lots of history, where all of a sudden someone can become very wealthy in a very short space of time. There is the dot-com boom is sort of one of the more recent ones of that. Now coming up, there could be anything to do with videos, influencers, all those sort of things, where all of a sudden overnight someone seems to have become very successful pretty much at the first stab they've done of something, because they've created a product or a way of doing something that's new. I fit that with the caveat that that's not the norm, and that in most cases there are a lot of years, but it doesn't mean to say they have to be unsuccessful, because there's a lot of people that will plod along through their life, through their careers, and don't necessarily fail, but they don't necessarily kind of like skyrocket up into the realms of being super successful as far as anyone else sees. And that can be to do with life challenges, what's specifically going on, where they've got their focus, and what they're already deeming as successful at that point. And because if someone's comfortable in their life, okay, I've got my marriage going well, I've got my cars, my toys, I've got everything kind of paid for, I'm happy, I just stay here. Well, unless there's a drive to kind of go up and become more successful, or is successful in a way that the world sees, it may just not kind of happen. It might take a little while, but it doesn't mean to say that everybody crashes and burns before they become successful. A lot of people do, however, and the reason for that is that as soon as someone gets upward on their success and basically meets whatever criteria they need to be comfortable, they've met their needs, as it were. So it's a roof overhead, food on a regular basis, clothes, whatever the essentials are. And it's not necessarily a dollar amount, but there is a certain point where everybody gets to, and it's like, you know what, I'm here, I've got everything I need. If this carries on, I can live this way forever. And usually at some point in that realm, they'll have some experience. There'll be a death in the family, death of someone close, some accident, some ill health issues drops in, and all of a sudden their life changes, where their needs drastically change, in that their health drops off, they've got no money, something happens. And that then is like, well, geez, if that can happen when I was comfortable, I've got to do something that's going to take me well beyond that, so I will never experience this again. And that's where a lot of these failure stories come from, that someone is working on something, all of a sudden it's done a nosedive, and then it's like, okay, now I've come back because I know I've got there before, and then they kind of keep on going. So that's where it is. So with that, behind every successful man, there are many years of failure, or many unsuccessful years, as it were. And that's from Bob Brown. And basically, get comfortable. Don't stay comfortable, because it's not always a great place to be. But you are a success whenever you deem yourself to be a success, and it's not based on anybody else. So be a success in your own life. Take care. We will see you on the next one.